of. How can we decide that we want to serve the Lord or the devil? Well, in the Bible, we have a few things here that pertain to those who are putting on or pretending to be followers. There were the Pharisees in the biblical times. It showed that they were very religious. They could pretend that they was religious, but they were not. They could practice to be holy, but they wasn't. They would show sometimes that they were righteous, but they were only pretending to be. They could show that they had sacrificed themselves to the Lord, but they wasn't. They showed the people on the outside world that they were godly individuals, but they could talk godly talk, but they were not. They showed the world that they could dress and act all holy, but they were not. They showed the world that they were dedicated to the Lord, but they were not. They were trying to fool the Lord in all ways and action. But Jesus decided one day to show them that he told them that they were nothing but hypocrites. Hypocrites. People who pretend to be something that they are not. How can you know whether they are hypocrites or not? He found out that their motives were not pure, but they were selfish. He found out that their desires were carnal, not holy. He found out that their attitudes were worldly and not godly. He found out that their thoughts was unbecoming to the people of God. He found out that their actions were unjust and they were despicable. He found out that their hands was greedy and not hands that were holy and righteous. So Jesus found out that those people were nothing but hypocrites. Are you a hypocrite today? Are you on the Lord's side? Have you decided to follow him? Listen to what Jesus has to say about those hypocrites. In Matthew 6:2, he says this, therefore, when thou doest thy alms, do not sound a cymbal before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogue and in the streets. In Matthew 6:5, Jesus said this, when thou pray, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the street corners of the streets, that they may be seen by men. He says in Matthew 6:16, moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their face, and that they may appear unto men to fast. In Matthew 23, verse 27 and 28, he says, woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer yet them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for ye compass the sea and land to make one holy, and when he has made him holy, he has made him to fold his arms as a child, but yet he finds himself in hell. Notice what he says in Matthew 23:25. Woe unto ye, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for ye make clean and the outside of the cup of the planter, but within they are full of exaltation and excuses. Matthew 15:7 and 8 says, ye hypocrites, this people draw nigh unto me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for the doctrine of the commandments of men. And Jesus said in Matthew 24:24, for there shall arise false Christs, false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if ye were possible, that they should deceive the very elect. At the last, Matthew 7:15, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep clothing.
All right.
But inward they are raving wolves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Raving wolves.
Yeah.
Jesus teaches now about false prophets. He teaches about being hypocrites. He teaches here that the people can show an outward appearance, but the outward appearance can be very deceiving. Yeah. I believe that the gifts of the Spirit, which is so desperately needed within the church today, it is that gift of discernment. Discernment in 1 Corinthians 2 and 10. 1 Corinthians 12 and 10. This is the gift that enables Christians to discern the difference between good, the difference between what's good and what's bad. Yeah. The difference between what is right and what is wrong. Yeah. You need this. You need the spirit of discernment. Yeah. It can show you the difference between what is holy and what is profane. Yeah. It can show you the difference between what is pure and what is corrupt. Yeah. It gives us the discernment to know the difference between what is solid and what is skippy. Yeah. It tells us the difference between what is true and what is false. Yeah. The spirit of discernment. Yeah. Yes, and as well, the Spirit can also show you one who is selfish, who is trying to avoid things of God. Yeah. And that is there, showing you there that appearances can be deceiving. Yeah. Well, let me go on to the text for a moment and get on out of here. We find here in the text